Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and this is part 23 of my turn-based battle system tutorial. In the last part we were able to switch our hero character between the scenes, and in this part I want to try to complete the random encounters. The random encounters, I mean, we are walking through that red areas, setting some monsters which are able to get spawned in this particular areas, and then go into the battle scene, whichever fits us best. In my case, I only have one battle scene, but later on when we are going through forest, you might want to load another battle scene with another background, for example. And if you're going through a, grassland, then you want to have a grassland battle scene. This is all possible, there's no problem with that. We just want to make sure that we at first can encounter that battles in any way. Open up your hero movement script, and in the on trigger enter we have already created the enter town and leave town tags. We also will create two new tags today, but at first let's go and get into fixed update, where we're moving our character around. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we can set a variable which is measuring if we are walking around or not. And we also want to make sure that the game manager knows, okay, we are walking at the moment. So what we need to do is at first we need two new variables of type vector3. They can be private, it doesn't matter, we don't need them outside. And this is going to be at first the car position or current position. I just shortened this one by car pause. And also I have a last pause for last position. You can type everything in one single line since they have the same setup. They are both private and we don't need to do anything else with them. Okay, in fixed update, we want to make sure that car pause is going to be equal to transform.position. So with that, we want to track if we are moving around or not, as I explained. Car pause is going to be set to transform.position every time we are going to move around or not. If we are not, we will keep on creating the same position the whole time. So what we want to check at first is if the current position is going to be the same as the last position of our hero character. And if it's so, we want to do something. Well, we actually want to make sure that we set a isWalking variable to false. Else, so if that is not the case and those two variables, car pause and last pause, are going to be the same, then we know, okay, we have moved. So in that case, we will create set isWalking to be true. And in the very last, after all that back and forth, we want to set the last position to be equal to the current position. So we are updating last position to current position in the next or in the same turn, and then in the next turn we will again measure all that stuff. So now we need the variable to send stuff around. And this is what we are going to create in the game manager. I just go over, and since we did need a lot of them, I'm gonna create a subpart in here, call them just bools. Those bools will just track if there's something is on or off. So true or false. So the first bool we need is the one we want to check around, and this is going to be a public bool since we will need to access to it. And we call this one just isWalking. And we don't need to set this one, but we want to make sure that this is going to be set to be false. In hero management, we want to go to the first if statement and set GameManager.instance.isWalking to be false. So if the current position and the last position we were on is the same, we don't walk. And of course, if it's a difference and they are not the same, then we know, okay, we are walking at that point. So we can save that script. What we can do right now is we're gonna let the compiler work, press play, and go to our hero or our game manager object. As you can see, there's that the public bool, and what I can do now is when I start to move my character, when I'm in the game scene, you can see that bool activates. If I leave the buttons alone, it will automatically deactivate. So now we can measure if we are walking around or not. So what I want to avoid with that is then when we are only standing in an encounter region, we don't get attacked. That's why I create that variable. So in the next part, we want to make sure if we are able to can get encountered. We can call that whatever we want. And how can we check that best? Well, we need another trigger function for this, which Unity provides already. We don't have to do anything but passing in parameters. What I want to create is void. This is going to be on trigger stay. So in the onTriggerStay function, I want to make sure that the collider where the hero character is in is going to be one of our regions. So I'm gonna rename that one to region 1. We don't have the tags right now. We will create them in just a second. And region 2. And what we want to do is, again, we want to set a variable. Okay, what I want to do is at first I want to go over and create more tags. After the compiler is done, I'm going to add tag, press the small plus and say region 1. You later on will have a lot of tags with a lot of regions, like, I don't know, 100 or 1000 maybe. So make sure you have everything set up correctly later on. Go to your encounter regions. I have those which are both region 1, so I set those both to region 1. This is going to be my region 2. This is needed to be determining if we are staying in a particular position, or collider in this case. Since we are doing the same for region 1 and region 2, we can actually combine those two if statements into one if statement. What we can do is we can type in 2 pikes in here, or pipe or pike, I don't know. I believe it's pipe. Yeah, pipe might be. And what after that 2 pipes? That 2 pipes mean this is going to be an OR operator. So if this or that is going to happen, then we want to do something. So we save some lines in code like this, and this will shorten up everything. So if we are in region 1 or region 2, then we want to set our encounter variable to true. And this encounter variable needs to be created at first, and so we know, so we navigate to the game manager object again, make it public, another bool, and this is going to be can get encounter, maybe like this. And we also set this one to false at the very beginning. Don't forget to save. Into the hero movement, we will go and say game manager dot instance dot can get encounter is going to be equal to true. What I also want to make sure, since onTriggerStay might keep staying at that encounter when it's, I don't know, can be bugged or anything else, or it does not get anything against that, we want to create another onTrigger function. I'm gonna duplicate that one, and instead of onTriggerStay, I say onTriggerExit. And when we exiting, and we are exiting one of those, if it's region 1 or region 2, we want to set get encounter to be false. Gonna save that. So we can get encounter it when we are entering that region, and if we are leaving that region, then we cannot get encountered. Okay, time to save everything and test out what Game Manager is going to do and show us, and hopefully it's working. So I'm gonna select the Game Manager. As you can see, we can get encountered. Now let me move out a bit. As you can see, I'm here right now. What happened is I left the region and I cannot get encountered at that point. Once I enter, as you can see, I can get encountered, and of course is walking is still working. So I am in here, And that's it. Now what I want to make sure is that I can encounter or basically load a battle scene while I am going to combine those two variables or bools, but I need another one for this one. And this other bool will help us to determine if we got already attacked. And only if we got attacked because we got that random encounter, then we load the next scene or the battle scene. So we create a public bool get or got, I don't know, got attacked. And of course we set this one to false too. Now in the game manager we can create the function already for the random encounter at first. So this will determine if we got attacked or not. So I call this one just void random encounter. It doesn't need to be public since we only do stuff inside of Game Manager. And Game Manager wants to check, or should, or have to check, if is walking is going to be true. So is walking. And if we are walking, then we next want to check if we can get encountered because we are in a region. So I'm gonna combine those two once again with an AND. So if is walking and can get encounter. So if both are true, then I want to create a random or a random encounter number. We have a lot of possibilities at that point. What we can do is we say we create an integer, for example. So that integer can be anything, but also I need to clamp this in an if statement. So I get another if statement in here. I don't want to, or basically I could do that also in here, but for the sake of simplicity or just for the visibility at the moment, I just do it as I do it right now. So what I want to do is I need a random number, or I want a random number, or basically this can be a percentage of anything. So I want a number between 0 and maybe 1000. And what I also want to check if that number is smaller than, for example, 10. What does that mean is, with a chance of 10 out of 1000, or basically out of 999, I get a random encounter. So in here I can shoot out a debug.log or error or whatever you want, and can say I got attacked. Also what we want to set is, of course, the got attacked variable is going to be true. We can't fire a random encounter right now since we are not calling this. That's another problem currently. So what we need to do is we need to create a small state machine. I know we have already a lot of state machines in our battle system, but also games can consist state machines. This state machine we are creating right now will be, let me just slim that a bit here. This state machine will check where on the whole or where in the whole game we are. So at first, as you may remember from the first, I don't know, series, number 4 I believe was the first state machine we were creating, is we need to create an enum which is holding all the informations for the state machine. So just call this one enum in here. And so what we can do is we can create a public enum, and we call that, I don't know, GameStates. GameStates. Then in curly brackets behind that or under that, we can add any game state we want. And this game state we currently have or need are a world state. So this world state will represent if we are in the world or on the world map. Then we have another state which can be, or which will be, the town state. So when we are located in a town, we cannot get random battle encounters. So we can't switch between stuff around just because we are not at a specific position and we save data, or basically we save work in the machine. So, and of course we have a battle state where we are entering the battle, or when we are in a battle. So we know, okay, when we are in battle, we are not able to walk, for example. And I want to add some more later on. And another important one is again an idle state. This is not doing anything until we drag out of that idle state. Okay, later on there will be also menu states like in-game menu or main menu states, so we are not able to move around, but we can fiddle around anything in the menu in the, inventory, for example. So yeah, but now I hope you know why we are creating another state machine for this one. Okay, and of course to have access to that state machine, we need to create a public of type GameState, and I just call this one GameState. Okay, so now with that GameState we can again go and create a switch statement in the update function, as we have done in our BattleState machine again, and yeah, fill it with information. So void update, and open and close curly brackets again. So what we do is we create a switch statement for this one. And what do we want to switch? We want to switch GameState. And what we have in a switch statement, as you may remember, is a lot of cases and breaks. So the first case, so in case of our GameState .world state is going to be the one we are currently in, and we want to do something. Of course, after we are done with that, we want to break out of the game of that case. So yeah, that's how it works. The next case, in my case, can be town state. GameState .town state, again colon and break once again. And the next case is going to be the BattleState. In case of BattleState, I'm gonna do that brackets around and a colon in the end and break it out, or break out of it again. And then we have one last, and this is going to be the idle state. So in case of idle, again in brackets and a colon in the end and break it out. Okay, now we have our switch statement. Now we can say when we are in the world state, we can check if we are walking around. So if it's walking, we can do something. So typo, big W. So if we are walking around, we can call our random encounter. And that's cool because, yeah, when we are in that particular state, we can call for random encounters and we may get attacked or we don't, depending on the luck we will have in that small if statement in here. Okay. Also, we can change the game state when we are getting attacked or when we got attacked. So if we are got attacked, well, what's the most important thing or most interesting thing is going to be the battle state, which can call another function to load a level where we have to battle in and all the other things. And yeah, that's what we do now. And so what we change is the game state and set this one to the GameState.BattleState. Don't forget to save, and let's test if we are able to encounter anything. As you can see, it already gets in here, so we are currently in the world state. We will not take care of that state by hand, but by colliders later on. So currently we are getting encountered. We can walk around, and once we get attacked by that random encounter, I hope I will get attacked one day. There we go. We get that debug.log. I got attacked. Got attacked is going to get active, and we changed the game state to battle state. I can walk out. I cannot get encountered anymore, but still got attacked is going to be true because we didn't set this one to be false once again, which we will do in the next minutes. Okay, so now we have the possibility to get encountered through a BattleState machine, and that encounter will load when we are hitting or getting attacked and entering the battle state. We can now load a battle scene. And we also can do everything else which is needed to get back to the scene once the battle is completed. And what we need to do is, we need, of course, to save in our game manager object. We need to store our last hero position to later on get back to the position where we have been. So in here, in that battle state, we want to make sure that we load the battle scene. But I don't want to pull in all the informations into the battle state itself, so I create a small function which is which we will just create. And once we are done, we go to idle, so we don't keep loading the scene over and over, since this is just the idle state, and it will stay in there until we are leaving the battle again, and then we will load something different. Okay, so our random encounter is working pretty nicely and works perfectly as I expected. So I'm gonna get rid of the debug line again and command this out. And now what I can do is I can create the battle function. So what I can create is, I want to create a new function and call this one start battle. So in here we need to save a lot of informations and create some randomness. But before we can start our whole battle, we need to know what the hell are we going to attack and what are we going to battle. Going up into the first part again of the game manager is now we will create a small extra class. I'm not sure which is the best position for this one, but maybe at the very beginning over here. So this class will give us the possibility to push data into the game manager, so we can determine, depending on a region, which monsters we are able to attack. So we can fill in a lot of prefabs, I don't know how many we need and want, in that class, and the class will take care of that later on and give us the correct monsters we are able to attack. At first we create that class. So at first this class needs to be serializable, so otherwise we are not able to access that in the inspector. So we create a new class, so public class, and I call this one RegionData. So in that class we will pass, or by hand pass in some parameters, maybe a name, so we can name that properly. So we call say public string region name. so we don't get confused later on. Oh, was a space between, that's why. So what we also want to make sure is that we have the possibility to set a maximum amount of enemies we are able to encounter. So we say public int max amount enemies, and we set this one to 4, since our battlefield will only hold a maximum of 4 enemies, and when we want to spawn in any random enemies driven by the game manager, we want to make sure that we do not go over that 4. Otherwise we will have problems pretty much. And the last one, of course, is going to be a list of possible enemies. And since we want to create or use lists, I need to add another namespace in here. So I copy the first one, which is system.collections, and increase that by .generic. So we are able to use lists in our game manager. And now I can say public list of type GameObject. This is where our enemies are going to get space. And I call this list possible enemies for that particular region. And this is going to be equal to a new list of type GameObject. And now we are able to, or almost able to see that, but we also need a connection to this one again. So since we are creating several regions of and we want to see that for a different amount of regions, I want to save all that region data in another list. So we create a new list. We say public list. In this case, it's going to be of type RegionData, the class we were just creating, and we call this one just regions. And what we say is we create a new list of type RegionData. Maybe I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna leave that big for the moment. Gonna save. Now when we're going to look into our inspector in the game manager script, we should have a new class or a new list with a class attached to when it's done compiling. Oh, no, we don't, since we forgot to add one small, very important line. As I said before, we need to say this is going to be a serializable class. So system.serializable in square brackets directly over the RegionData class. Save that. Once again, go back to Unity, let it compile, and then we should have a new list of type regions, as you can see with that small arrow in front. When I select this, I can say, okay, currently I have 2 regions I want to go over. Then I will get 2 more elements for that particular, or 2 more spots in our regions list. And if I open one up, I can set a region name in the string we were creating, maybe like this one, region 1. And the maximum amount is going to be 4. The same for the second region. And the possible enemies can be, I don't know, 100,000. So a possible enemy, for example, one specific enemy only can be in region 1. So now we can drag in any of my prefabs. Let me just close this one once again so we don't have any possible enemies at the moment, and I will go over to that soon again. So here we can say in the second region, this is going to be region 2. The name again doesn't really matter since we don't work with that. Well, actually not at the moment. And of course the same maximum amount is going to be 4 for this particular region. We can also set this one to only 1, but the highest is going to be 4 because we later on go and create spawn points for that specific part. In the next tutorial, I will fill in the start battle, and I will make sure that we switch the states around, go to idle, and of course get into battle and spawn a random amount of enemies into our battle, of course. So don't forget to save everything, specifically the world map we were creating, and of course apply all changes to the game manager. So this will be saved in the game manager script or in the game manager prefab, so everything is going to stay the same. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb this video up if you like it, and feel free to become my patron or donate by using PayPal to support me and my channel in the future. All links will be below in the description. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.